possible. Without cold chain, you really can't unlock those opportunities. So that's where innovations around energy efficiency comes in, which are opportunities for startup. I don't know if there are any engineers here. If you read engineering here, you may know what we call BLDC, brushless DC motors. That's the new rave everybody's trying to figure out, because they drastically reduce energy consumption of most agricultural equipment by up to 80 or 90%. So this is my own perspective of how we are going to power agriculture and now explore opportunities in agriculture. Because the truth is, the future of agriculture has to be a focus on agro-industrialization, then agroeconomic digitization. The industrialization starts from energy. It starts from energy, then it moves to boosting productivity of the producers. How can these producers produce more with less inputs? How solving these questions basically are where the opportunities start. Now, I know a lot of these things I'm saying, they look they will sound difficult to implement because of we all know how expensive infrastructure projects are, but this we will still I would interact more, and I just want to go through my slides so that we will talk more, and I'll try to see the opinion of everybody on these conversations that I've been having. But this is just some of the people who have helped me on my journey trying to build infrastructure for agriculture. So we've had a lot of help, to be honest, in trying to build out some of our infrastructure for agriculture. Starting from the Mandela Washington Fellowship in 2018, that was the first time I saw a commercial cold storage facility in Reno, Nevada. It was a Walmart distribution center that basically all the food that all the retail Walmarts, the Walmart is like ShopRite. So all the food that the equivalent of ShopRite, which is like Walmart, sells, basically comes to a central storage facility from where it moves out. So exposure to that infrastructure showed me how food cold chains work, and that was basically where I started thinking about innovation. So that's all. That I think that's also why some of these conversations we are having are important, because when I show you what I have done, you can see it's possible and now decide to maybe take it to the next level. Or if some of you have already even done greater things, we can find the way you may get a few ideas on things that you can also add to your work. There's the International Solar Energy Society and Elsevier. I think they gave us 20,000 euros in 2021 when we were still trying to figure things out. These guys gave us $100,000. So there's also been a number of, I think these guys gave us about $50,000. So we've gotten a lot of support from multiple partners, which has basically helped us figure out these things. So I'm still going to share my experience with trying to get funding for your projects, but I think I would stop now and get feedback from the rest of the room to be sure that at least some of you are interested in what I am saying, and we are all aligned. So I think I'll push it back to the floor now before we continue conversations on funding infrastructure projects. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, sir. Wow. This is quite interesting. Thank you very much. As a farmer myself, I am very, I'm really thrilled right now. And I don't know if I should just start making wishes or where to go on from now. But thank you very much for this very session you started up. Guys, I was expecting to see, reactions. Although I'm seeing some questions here, but so quickly, let me just, if you don't mind, let me quickly ask some questions that we have right here. So the first person actually asked and said, okay, that's from Irene David Arinze. She said, is the cold storage with tomato inside a market or the farm? That was her first question. And then she said, you started as a solar technician and now you do a lot of agro cold storage powered by solar. How did you carve out your path for yourself?
I think it would be easier if I answer the questions one after the other. If you read all of them, I may forget some.
All right, so very well. Okay, so very well. The first question was, is the cold storage with the tomatoes inside the basket in the marketplace or your farm? That was the first question. I think that was from the picture. I think maybe from your slide.
I think I would start with that question. So that's quite an interesting question. And to be honest, we've done cold storage in a market and we've done in a farm, but currently we are now specialized in building them on farms rather than markets. Except there, of course, they say, but except it's a farmer's market. So if it's a farmer's market, then we are open to putting a cold storage facility there. And our reason is simple. If it's these general markets where, for instance, let's say, sorry, I'm not really familiar with Abuja markets, but let me use Lagos markets, which a lot of you probably have heard about Mile 12 market in Lagos or Mile 12 market in Lagos. Now, most of the tomatoes, let's say Mile 12 markets in Lagos, all come from the north, from Kaduna, from Kano, from Jos, which is beautiful. If you put which is also similar to the first one of the cold storage facilities we did in the market, where yes, there are local farms nearby, but a lot of the storage come from far away. And we noticed that before it gets to the market, sometimes one third of the product is already wasted because there was no cold chain at the farm where it was produced. They had no cold transport. So by the time it got to the market where we now store them for the people who use them, over one third had already been wasted. And food waste was a very important problem for us. So we decided that if we are going to make impact, our work has to start at the first mile. So if we ever have reason to do in the market again, we have to be sure that we also have in the farm and we're able to control from farm to market, or a market that is at least 1 hour away from the farm, maximum of 1 hour drive away from the farm. So it basically still works directly with the farmers. So short answer, that picture you saw was a market, but we've moved it out of the market to a farm. Thank you. Sorry, you're muted.
Oh, thank you. Okay, so the second question said you started as a solar technician and now you do a lot of agro cold storage powered by solar. How did you carve out that path for yourself?
You know, I've always said, the thing about being a solar technician. I think I would say being a solar technician is being like a software engineer. You probably end up knowing a little bit about every industry because
Oh,
basically every industry needs you. So before we began to specialize in cold storage, I had probably done over 250 solar installations across Nigeria, from Kaduna to Maiduguri to Enugu to Owerri, basically all over the place. So, and all these are in different sectors. One day you are in a church, and before you power a location with solar, you need to understand the equipment you are powering. It's not like generator where you just go and connect generator and go. Every solar installation starts with an energy audit and equipment assessment. There are some locations you will go, if you don't like the equipment there or you don't understand it, you tell them my solar cannot carry this one, so that you will not have problem. So what that experience meant is, from going to churches to power woofers to going to mosques to going to hospitals to going to schools to going to farms, we basically knew a little bit about everything. And two sectors that I built that I kind of fell in love with were agriculture and healthcare. I had dreams of doing both, but I now realized that even agriculture was so big. I'm the kind of person who likes to do whatever I'm doing, but I realized agriculture was so big that I decided to leave healthcare for another person. So that's basically how I specialize in agriculture. Then I now began to see that there was already a lot of research around the energy agriculture nexus. So even within the energy industry, there has always been that significant movement around how can we use energy to boost agriculture. Because in a place like Nigeria, for instance, where 45% of the people have no energy access, okay, and these people are in rural communities, and these rural communities have no electricity. If you say let you go and bring private sector financing to fund, let's say, solar mini grid that would power that community, they cannot pay for the electricity. And so if you as a solar company, you borrowed money, you borrowed infrastructure financing to provide electricity for the people, and they don't pay for it, your company will fold. The people who gave you the loan will arrest you. So you find out that your best bet is if these guys are already practicing agriculture, but they are unable to extract sufficient economic value from their operations, you find out if energy can help, if providing energy can help them create that value. And if that is the case, there's an opportunity to also find out how to help them a little more. So I already had a lot of agriculture businesses and even restaurants as my customers. So when we now began to do our vertical integration, it wasn't that hard because the work started with basically reaching out to people we have worked with before to tell them, see what we are doing, or what advice do you have for us? Or now we've now done vertical integration and we've even gone into developing and managing greenhouse farms, especially in these communities. As I speak to you now, I can tell you categorically that all the harvests from our greenhouse farms does not meet the demand for the harvest because we now do market linkage. We are unable to meet demand for the products we distribute. And the reason is that, and the interesting thing is, we haven't even done any marketing for the produce from the farmers we support. It was basically just sending WhatsApp messages to our existing customers who have powered their restaurants with solar in the past and told them, hey, we now support farmers. And these farmers produce these perishable goods. Can we become your sole supplier? And they're like, sure. We can't meet their demand. So I guess there's something I've also noticed about the SDGs. Let me put it that way. Yeah, about the Sustainable Development Goals. They are all connected. If I begin to ask each and every one of you who are working on the Sustainable Development Goals, which of them you are working on, I can always tell you how they connect to another one. It's just like if anybody tells me they are working on education, my projects already power with universities to help me train farmers. It partners with universities to help me do research. So there's always that connection. SDG 11 is food waste. You cannot do food waste without SDG 2, solving hunger. So there's always that connection. So we just found that connection, and because of our specialization and vertical integration, it became quite difficult for us to fail because we went all in. So thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Wow. All right. Okay, so we will take another question quickly so that you can continue from, I don't know, because you actually said you would love to just hear and then you want to continue.
The questions, probably I will answer everything I wanted to discuss from the questions. So let's take the questions then. Unless we don't like the question sessions, but I think the question is the best way to help make sure everybody's
All right.
curiosity is satisfied.
All right, so very well. So a question here from Ibrahim Sule says, I hear building a greenhouse is quite expensive. How can an average Nigerian youth who owns a farm key into getting a greenhouse? And he specified the location in Jos Plateau State.
That is a very good question. And that is also one of the problems that I am currently solving, and I have not fully solved. I will be honest. So I am open to collaborations of people I can work with to solve it together. But let me tell you what I am currently doing. One is because of the positioning of our business, every time we build a cold storage facility, the cold storage facility needs greenhouse farms that produce sufficient volume to justify the cold chain. So now I will never build a cold storage facility for vegetables without making arrangements for greenhouse farms whose harvests will be managed through my cold chain. So what that means is that when I'm raising project financing for a new project, there's already budgets for greenhouses. And naturally, these greenhouses are allocated to farmers in the community who who use it and will not have some form of business relationship with them. So that that model can be replicated anywhere because a lot of companies keep building infrastructure projects every day. So that is one. Basically, the young people trying to partner with the bigger guys who are trying to basically scale this infrastructure. Because the truth is that these big guys need the young people who will manage these farms. And the young people probably need these big guys because they now work together to form that central food production block. It's actually called block farming. So in your spare time, you can Google block farming to see how a lot of young people can work together to participate in block farming projects and probably reach out to some of these big infrastructure players and collaborate with them. So that's not cheap. It's just that if the project is organized enough, the revenues generated from the farming block can pay for the greenhouse infrastructure. The second one, which we are innovating in, but we haven't rolled it out yet, is one of the reasons greenhouses are very expensive is the structure is made of steel, and steel is not cheap. The structure is made of steel, then you also need experienced welders that do the fabrication, and you have to pay these welders. Even if you learn welding, you need electricity to power the welding equipment. So electricity, if you are using generator, I think there's this because we recently set up a factory where we fabricate greenhouses, and in fact by the side of our facility, and it uses our solar power. So we don't pay for electricity in our factory. But all the guys we trained on greenhouse fabrication, we tell them that because you can now build greenhouses, if somebody reaches out to you to build greenhouse for them, we are not stopping you. Go and build for them and make your money and come back to the factory. So one of the guys who is now very good in fabricating greenhouses called me from Bayelsa yesterday and was complaining bitterly that his first project that they trusted him with to build greenhouse, that buying fuel for a generator has finished all the money. Because he was young and trying to impress, he didn't build and trying to impress, he didn't build properly because the place where he was training, the solar was free. He now went to the site and was using 20,000 a day to buy fuel. So if someone is billing you for a greenhouse, and the person will bill you for the fuel. So some of all these things contribute to the cost, not just the steel, the workmanship of the people who do the fabrication, all that goes into it. So a cheaper way is using wood. There are people who do use bamboo to do greenhouses. So bamboo is not that cheap, even though some SDG people will tell you deforestation, but if we can go out, if you can find a way to navigate being accused of deforestation, if you are building an SDG project, maybe find a way to get sustainable wood. I'm not. It's part of the reasons. These are part of the reasons why my team wasn't so motivated. That if we start looking for bamboo that we now want to build bamboo greenhouses, somebody will come one day and say deforestation, and I will lose my funding. So those were some of the concerns I have, which hopefully working with some of you will be able to navigate how you can get wood sustainably. If you're able to use wood is definitely cheaper than steel. You don't need that much power to assemble it in terms of fabrication. What you need is hammer and nail to join it properly. That will definitely reduce your costs drastically. Then another area that has made greenhouse farming. So I'm just telling you the areas that has made it so expensive, which maybe there are innovators here that can now figure out ways to do low-cost greenhouses, because low-cost greenhouses are the future. Then another thing that make it is the covering of the greenhouse. If you've seen a greenhouse farm, you know it has coverings that they call solar rig. Those solar rigs are also not they are not cheap, and part of the reason why they are not cheap is that they are imported. But making them is not so hard if you have the raw material. And I think Dangote factory, I think 2 or 3 days ago, they now announced that they are now producing polypropylene or something, which is, I think, is the main, the main thing for producing it. So who knows? There may be innovators here who want to start making solar rig locally, or you find another low-cost material that can play the role of that solar rig, which is basically trying to control the UV radiation that gets to the plants. So, like I said, I'll be honest with you that I haven't really fully figured out how to make greenhouses cheaper, except that I now built a factory and I now manufacture in bulk. So definitely issues like logistics costs. I've cut down logistics costs because I'm building 10 at a time and packing them. It's not like you travel to Bayelsa or you travel to Jos to build only one and come back. If for if for instance you want to build a greenhouse in Jos and you don't have experienced people you have trained in Jos, maybe the experienced hand you see is in Abuja, for instance. Before you buy any money you are spending on greenhouse, you pay the person's transportation from here to Jos and back. If the person spends 1 week building, you feed the person. So I'm open to all of us working together to cut down this cost. So that is what I will say for that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. So thank you very much. I think I like that. And then interestingly, I think like you said, you work with some of us. I'm a farmer too, so I'm very very interested in that. And then with the argument with the SDG, I think we can we can have some arguments with the use of the bamboos and so on. And by the way, I also thought of something like that. Using the bamboos and mosquito nets that have been used. I think that one we can bring that one and say, okay, we can use mosquito net and cut it. That one will help. That's reusing of most of this material that we can use it as an argument to
Chocolate.
exactly.
I love the mosquito net idea for the side nets.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. All
See,
right, thank you very much. Yes, sir. So thank you very much. So we have this question. So quickly in the next 3 minutes, we have this section, this question, so that we can go on a 3 minute break. Just want to just play a little video before we come back to continue. So the question said, do you have issues with villagers, or your model doesn't interfere with locals? Lord.
uh, any project you do without community inclusion is dead on arrival because the community will sabotage it. So definitely your model has to key into what the community does. Like there's a project we are currently developing in a community in Enugu where we are building a cold storage facility. While in some of our communities, we play that role of aggregator. In that community, a lot of people already do aggregation there. And if you come there to try to be an aggregator, that means you are displacing them. We don't want to fight with anybody, so we are not doing aggregation there. Rather, we are empowering the existing aggregators. So, of course, it's before you launch a project, you need to ask questions to be sure that you are not displacing the source of income for the people who are already there. That is the first thing. So, for us, and we always set up like a community cooperative who we work with. So we do not do anything without the guidance of the local community. That way, we usually avoid community conflict. Thank you. You are muted, sir.
Sorry. Thank you very much again. So I don't know if okay. So it's already 6:59. So can we please okay, so let's just ask one more question, because the person that is to play this video is saying he has little issue with network. So let's ask one more question. And the question says, what is vertical integration?
Okay, thank you very much for that question. The first time I had vertical integration, I also Googled it. So it's a good question. Vertical integration basically means it can be forward or backward vertical integration, but it basically means for us now, we started as a cold storage company. As backward vertical integration for us means that we now went into building greenhouse farms just to make sure that there is sufficient supply of fresh produce coming into our cold chain. If not, if we go to a village and we build a cold storage facility without trying to support the farmers to become high value farmers, nobody may bring anything into the cold storage facility, and the cold storage facility will not have return on investment for the investors. So that was backward integration for us. Forward integration is that after building the greenhouse farms, handing it over to local farmers to manage. When the local farmers bring the harvest, we still sell everything the farmers harvest to the restaurants in our network. Now that is forward vertical integration for us. So basically, supplier management, which is what we call it internally for the farmers, is backward vertical for us. Then order management, which is the restaurants and others, is forward vertical integration for us. Beyond even backward for us also means because we also build irrigation systems for the farmers. So the solar water pumps, which is sometimes connected to the solar that also powers the cold room, and it's also powering irrigation. That's also backward vertical integration for us. So that's how it basically us, because our core business when we went into business, we are known as cold box store. People know us as code box store, but when you now come through, you now realize that the code box store is just one of the things we build. The things that enable the sustainability of the code box store, all part of that vertically integrated system. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much for that. So here's a question again by Irene David. She says, you seem to have received quite an impressive portfolio of funding from solid institutions. How did you position your company for these opportunities?
The Nigerian answer is God, though. But on a more serious note, what we try to do is we find out what funders are looking for. The way I see it is that we are a for-profit business, so the funders we are looking for are not charities. You get it? They are not the people, even if you are a non-profit, the people who are funding you have targeted objectives they are trying to meet. So the question you ask yourself is, does my company meet the objectives of this organization? If the answer is yes, how do I now prove to them that I meet the criteria of what they are looking for? And that's basically been what tells all the difference. Like, for instance, after Nigeria, because this energy access, my background is the electricity industry, and I've seen how solving energy access has been such a big problem for the big players in the industry. Of course, the most popular organization in Nigeria when it comes to energy access is the Rural Electrification Agency, for instance. So when you begin to read up on all their publications, you see that, okay, one area these people care about is productive use of energy. You now begin to study the projects they are doing in the productive use of energy space. So when you are now developing your own projects or developing your business, you try to make sure that those positioning around the productive use of energy is factored in. Factoring it in your project design now means that when probably they are called for applications, for me, when they are called for applications. So if it's some people who attract opportunity, who receive applications on a rolling basis, you write to them. But most times I try to look for, okay, who is actively funding and looking for projects to fund. And the way I've seen that Nigeria works is that somebody is always looking for projects to fund. But when somebody is looking for projects to fund, there are criteria. And if you genuinely believe that you meet that criteria, you now have to do your documentation around that. Then another thing I also know is that doing that necessary documentation is also a lot of work, and you have to take it as seriously as the way you take your farming. So the way you take your farming is the way you take your call for funding. And if there are any document you need to produce that you do not have the skills for it, you seek help. I have had a lot of help, and I always keep looking for people to help me meet some of the criteria that I'm unable to meet myself. So I guess that's the short answer of the question.
All right. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much. So articulate. Thank you very much. We appreciate. Again, another questions from Ibrahim Sule says, he just started with a statement that says, most of us know the issue of farmer and herder clashes, especially within the Middle Belt region and now western and eastern region of the country. So how do you deal with herders who travel from north towards your farming region? And how do you deal with issue of theft and vandalization on your farm?
The truth is that we do our best. I wouldn't tell you that I'm an expert in security. What I will just tell you is things we have tried to do to try to mitigate those risks. Luckily for us, we don't really do open field farming. So what we support is mainly greenhouse farms. The livestock farmers we support are already existing, and they know how they protect themselves. The greenhouse farms we build are fenced. So usually part of the budgeting for such projects is to have the place fenced just for security. Then I still believe that when you come to a community, the safest way to ensure security in that community is still by engaging the community. If the members of there are some kind of questions you ask, and if the members of the community are not confident in their own safety, then there's a problem. Of course, security is always a concern when choosing site location. So when you do your due diligence and ask relevant questions, and you feel here is not safe enough for your investment, you have to leave. The last project we did in Enugu, when we came, we had that there was issues of herdsmen and kidnapping in a neighboring community around 20 minutes away. So the community were saying that while they haven't been attacked yet, there's a community 20 minutes away that has faced repeated attacks, so that they are afraid. So naturally, before we started the project, we told them, okay, how can we help? And they said that okay, that the state government has a law that allows them to set up like neighborhood watch and now have their own local security apparatus, which we basically just used our experience as being educated people to bring them together, help them get all necessary security licenses from the state government, help them set up an official security outfit, organize them to do fundraising among themselves, which or since we are now part of the community, we contributed. Just basically help them build out their local neighborhood watch to a point where the neighborhood watch in that security now became so strong that when neighboring communities now have security issues, the community where our host community is now called upon to go there and try to help them do safety. Because I still personally believe that, like I said, I'm not a security person, but I still personally believe that there's a limit to what our police and military can do. They are not that many of them. The community needs to be able to take control of their own security legally, or at least we have certain levels of assurances for us to do what we can. Then for vandalization and safety, we try to do fencing where we can. We try to have we try to hire local security men. Of course, it's part of the budget in your financial model. Yeah, the cost of hiring 1 or 2 security men always has to be there. So we just do basic things, or maybe for the solar panels, for instance, we weld the solar panels in such a way that you cannot come and lose it. If you want to vandalize my solar panel, you must bring hacksaw to cut it. So the process it will probably take you 6 hours to steal my solar panel, and by then people have come to catch you. So some of those minor things help. So that's all I will have to say. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Wow, this is powerful. You see how he said they came with their knowledge and impact the general security of the community. And of course, if you do that for where you are, definitely they will have interest in even paying attention to your farm. Wow, that's excellent, sir. Thank you for that. I'm definitely I'm putting this down into consideration. Things to do. All right. Thank you very much. So another question from Rex Ogasa said, does farming really works in Nigeria? Looking at the high price of Gary, like literally, it went from 200 last year to 5 times the amount. Why is food price skyrocketing if agriculture contributes so much to the GDP than tech, like you said?
Well, there are multiple factors that contribute to food price, and for me, there are multiple factors that contribute to good food price, starting from the insecurity you mentioned. Because like I told you, if we are not confident in the location, we will not work there. And a lot of farms have had to be closed because of fears of security by the people. And I am sure, of course, the relevant authorities are doing what they can to combat insecurity, which I know has been one of the main issues around food price. Another is, of course, cost of fuel and diesel. These things are now energy is now so expensive. Energy is now so expensive that if the food you are using, if the food you are consuming needs, probably the farmer needs energy to pump water to do his irrigation. The farmer needs energy to transport, energy in the form of petrol now to transport his products. Then of course there's just general inflation in the country. Some of the products we are consuming, the seeds, the reality of our system, the seeds are imported. Of course, if seeds are imported, that also creates an opportunity for homegrown seeds. For me, every problem is an opportunity. So if for instance the seeds you grow are the seeds they use are imported, when there's an exchange rate problem, naturally the cost of seedlings go up. Most of the fertilizers are imported. If there's an exchange rate problem, and I think fertilizer is also one major cost in food production that has skyrocketed. So if fertilizer prices go up, naturally the cost of food production will go up. And one of the efforts we as an organization we are trying to make to solve the problem is collaborating with governments, public-private partnerships to see how government can solve some of these problems, which if you try to do as a private organization, your costs will go up significantly. So now, most of our ongoing projects, I think we have about 16 ongoing projects. They are all public-private partnerships. Even where we felt we didn't need government, we told them, okay, come and provide security. Come and provide land as your contribution and land and security. So there are multiple problems which if you come into the supply chain, you find out that every item you mention has something that basically made it more expensive. Even the people selling it in the market, their cost of living has gone up. So they would also want to increase their markups to be able to feed themselves. So we have multiple problems in the system. It's not a bed of roses, but there's a huge opportunity for us to every problem you solve is a wealth creation opportunity. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much, sir. Okay, so in the next 2 minutes, let me ask another question. He says that I am a technician. Or he's okay, a techpreneur. I believe that the future of Nigeria becoming food bank of Nigeria and Africa is a total integration of tech solution to all agricultural sector. What is your take on this, and what is currently obtainable?
Mhm. I agree with you. I agree with you. We structure the food systems, industrialize the food systems, build a tech stack upon the food system to ensure efficiency of the infrastructure we own. So tech starts from e-commerce to traceability to energy efficiency to even operational efficiency in your entire system to tracking your money to prevent theft So there's a lot of things which tech can do, and there's a lot of players who are trying to build IT solutions for agriculture infrastructure projects. Currently in our projects, we probably have about 5 tech companies offering us different IT services that help our infrastructure run smoothly. And we'll probably even onboard a few more. So it's a huge market. And though our thought process though is because a lot of the services we need is being done by multiple small companies. There may be an event we see a future where we probably consolidate this into one big platform, which is like a digital operating system that basically just helps us operate the entire food system instead of having multiple tech pioneers providing multiple solutions, and it may get a little inefficient. So that's where we currently are as an organization. Thank you.
No matter how tough it is, I will never give up. I know that the road ahead will be hard, full of obstacles and challenges. Sometimes I will feel tired and want to stop or give up. But deep down, I believe that my dreams are worth fighting for. I keep my head up high and remind myself that many people have faced similar struggles and have still found a way to succeed. Each small step I take brings me closer to my goals. I have faith in my abilities and the strength inside me. I will learn from my mistakes, grow from my experiences, and keep pushing forward. With each effort I make, I am building a better life for myself. I want to inspire others who are going through tough times to also keep striving. Together, we can create a brighter future. I will turn my struggles into strengths and prove that I can achieve anything I set my mind to.
Where you want to be in the future. Even if this rubber band breaks, if you cut it, join it together, it still forms that circle. That is how you should see yourself. In this short time, have you learned something that is worth a lifetime?
All right, thank you everyone. Welcome back. So that is us and some of the projects we have done so far this year, and we hope that you join us for more to come. So thank you. Quickly before we are at the last part of this session. So we have one more question from Rex, because this question actually came together. So before you continue, sir, we have one more question from Rex. Okay, is it Rex right now? Okay, no, yeah, Rex. He says, although when I read this question, it sounds a bit funny, but let me just ask. He said, also, why is cattle farming not disrupted? That we still have cattle roaming our streets if we got brilliant minds like you in the agri sector?
The question is beyond my pay grade, but I will tell you what I. Okay, I will tell you what I know. Now, cattle roaming on the streets is something which a lot of people are unhappy about. But you also have to understand that nomadic farming is a lifestyle of people from certain parts of the country. And it's not exactly easy to get people to change their lifestyle, because usually when you are bringing innovation, you are, especially when your infrastructure, when your sustainability projects are being funded, we are encouraged not to disrupt the livelihoods of certain people. And those nomadic, it's already the way they are doing it, and those people make a lot of money. Maybe you see a young boy carrying 50 cows on the road. You don't know that each of those cows is 1.2 million. So what you are seeing crossing the road is almost 80 million. So you have to really know what you will do to make him stop that. Of course, the only thing that can probably stop that is if more people now begin to do ranching. If more people now begin to do ranching. And many states are now beginning to explore ranching. Enugu State, where I'm quite conversant with their food systems there, I know ranching is part of their plan. I also know a few states in the West, like I think Ekiti or thereabout, have projects on ranching, whether it's for beef, whether it's for milk. So the movement for ranching is becoming quite popular. For me, I've also been to a few ranches, but the fact still remains that most of our meat still come from the nomadic guys. They have more supply. Nigeria consumes a lot of beef. The people with cattle ranches currently in Nigeria cannot meet the beef demand of Nigeria. So, and I kind of feel like the nomadic farming is cheaper. It's cheaper to operate for them, even though, of course, it leads to the crisis, but it's cheaper to operate for them. There's also that knowledge gap where this is the only way they know how to do it. But I kind of feel like it's something that's been solved. Something that's been solved. I've been privy to a few projects where different states and individuals are trying to do ranching, because the solution is ranching. How can you transition nomadic farmers who move around to start using ranches? But somebody who has never used a ranch before and has cows of maybe has like 10 different 100 million naira batches of cows everywhere. It go hard small. That's what I think, but I think we are getting there, or rather we will get there. Do I see us getting there more from milk? Because it's a change that will be driven by the market. And why I say this is, for instance, when cows trek too much, they cannot produce milk. So because of that, anybody who is growing cows for milk has to do ranch. Do you get? So by default, all the people who are to be honest, most of the people who I know do ranching are people who are trying to produce milk for the yogurt companies. So it's a process, but we'll get there. I guess I'll stop there. Thank you.
Yes, so we will get there eventually. We'll get there. So that's actually an interesting point, yeah. And truly, for those who are doing that, it's actually more cheaper when you actually look at it. They get free grasses in the bush than having to create a storage system for their cattle, hay, and all of that. So of course, but again, we'll get there. Thank you very much, sir. So one last question: which of the sector, or let me say spaces within the agricultural sector right now, can a prospective farmer harness? Which of it do you think is best for anyone to harness right now if they want to go into agro business?
To be honest, I don't have answer to that question. My sincere answer is the one you can do, because the way I see agriculture is that everybody has that sector where they have comparative advantage. So you have to play where you have comparative advantage. Your comparative advantage can be knowledge. Your comparative advantage can be location. And even when you are playing, and of course, your comparative advantage can be money. Your comparative advantage can also be access to markets, buyers. Your comparative advantage can be that you can supply seed. So you just have to play where you have comparative advantage, because nobody can beat you where you have comparative advantage. Sorry, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We can. Yeah.
So nobody can beat you where you have comparative advantage. Like there's a place, I don't know how many of you know a place called Ecom. I think Ecom is in Cross River State. I was in Ecom, I think it was 2 months ago or
Yeah.
so. And almost all the villagers I met, there's a community I went to in Ecom. Almost all the villagers I met there were multi-millionaires. And that was just because the price of cocoa went haywire a few months ago. So cocoa made more money than almost basically any other agri sector this year. But just because cocoa was making that kind of money, I know a lot of people who said, there's money in cocoa, they rushed inside cocoa. Even the Enugu state government, where I'm a consultant, they are now doing a lot of cocoa production. I don't know what will happen when their cocoa eventually grows, but this year, those guys in Ecom, and most of those guys who are multi-millionaires from Ecom, their comparative advantage started from that most of the cocoa they are harvesting was planted by their fathers and their grandfathers. Do you get? So they have that comparative advantage in that area. So you can't compete with them there. Or you say you want to compete with, let's say, Mubi in Adamawa State, for instance. That place I have cold storage where they used to export cattle and trailers to Cameroon every day. It go hard you. You will find it difficult. So just I cannot advise you on that. You just have to choose and even in that sector where you have comparative advantage, you can just choose one thing. Like, let me use the greenhouse farms I know, for example. In my team, for instance, I have welders who will tell me that the only thing they do is fabrication, that they don't do installation. They tell you that they don't like climbing up because installation is after you fabricate the greenhouses. Setting it up means you need to climb to the top of the greenhouse, and it can be sometimes the top can be as high as 4.5 meters. They tell you they don't need to climb up, but just they are so good at that fabrication that they have built a career out of it. Some have built a career out of installation. They say they don't like welding, so they don't do fabrication. Some have built a career out of farm management. Some have built a career out of data analysis, managing the data of the farming operations. Some have built a career out of coaching. Some have built a career out of marketing. Some have physical marketing. Some have built a career out of social media marketing. So you just have to play according to your strengths. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So, ladies and gentlemen, just look around you and play to your strength. Get to know which is going to be your comparative advantage that right where you are and harness that opportunity. Thank you very much, sir. So we are going to leave you with this session right now to just give us your last session for this time. Just tell us, we don't know if you have any more you want to just have us know before we come to the end of this session.
Okay, so I want to believe that a lot of you are like me, young, smart innovators who knowledge or ability to learn is not a problem. The problem is always going to be funding. Eventually, we can preach about all the opportunities in the agribusiness sector, but eventually, I'll tell you what your coordinator's husband told me when he came to my facility. Irene, sorry for putting you on the spot. What he told me, Uzo, you are a very brilliant young man, but this is a finance game. And that was an advice I took to heart. And no matter how brilliant and spectacular you think you are, if you can't fund your projects, you wouldn't do very much, and there will be no evidence of your smartness. So the question, as I'm talking to the entrepreneurs anyway, if you are very smart, you just go and look for somebody who has funded this project and go and work for the person. I think that one is straightforward. And most people who have been able to fund their project are probably so buried deep in finance, they need you. Not just they need you desperately. So if you don't want to stress yourself with all the sleepless nights of trying to fund your project, or if God forbid there is vandalization in your site and you are the person that they will call, Just go and just go and work for somebody who is well funded and bring excellence to the table. But for those of us who are ready to go down that route, you need to be able to figure out how to get your projects funded. And for me, the way I've decided to play it is that there are different categories of funders out there. You make up your mind on the type you want to chase. For somebody at the early stage, the easiest type of funding to get is grants. The easiest type of funding to get is grants. You just have to take your time and study how to do grant writing and grant applications, and just fight it out for grants. My first cold storage facility was basically the first grant I ever won was 10,000 euros from Oxfam in 2021. Got 10,000 euros from Oxfam, got 2,500 from Sustainable Energy for All, then added some of the profits from my solar installation business, borrowed the rest, and built my first facility. Without those grants, all these things, without that first grant that basically helped to show what you are capable of, all these things I'm telling you, I will just be speaking theoretically with no projects to show for it. So I kind of feel like the easiest is grants. And as an early stage entrepreneur, finding $5,000-$10,000 grants without even having built a farm before is possible. Even if you are still in the idea stage, to see something more than $10,000 may be hard, but it's not that it's not possible. Do you get? But even like I remember, like I just told you, my first grant was 10,000 euros, second one was 2,500. I applied for both of them at the same time. In fact, the first sets of grants we got 10,000 euros from Oxfam, 2,500 from SE for All. Then we got $500 from all money is money. All of them we were putting together to the project. We got $500 from, I think it's IEEE for best planned project at their conference. Then there's another one that gave us 50,000 naira. I will not say their name, but but it's really the 50,000 naira bought fuel and food for the team. So, but the thing is, my point is there are still grant funding opportunities that will fund you without even any track record. All they want, by when I say any track record, as in any existing farm. Your track, of course, you must always have track record. I think the track record I had then was my education as per engineer. I had done some solar installations in the past. So if this person can do solar installation, this person can build agro infrastructure. Then one thing I also tried to do was use my experience as an engineer to do very detailed 3D and 2D drawings with proper measurements so that they will know that they are working with a professional, that these guys already know what they want to do. Just give them money and they move. So for me, I didn't just say I want to build cold storage, give me money. I designed the code. Like I had a 20-page design document on every single component of my cold storage, drawings, dimensioning, the technology behind all the energy efficient components. Because it was basically more from a technology standpoint. It was over time that we now started doing backward integration and going into agribusiness. So my point is, and you know how grant applications are now. I don't know if it's a good advice I should be saying here, but you don't tell them what you want to hear. You tell them what they are looking for. So before you start trying to apply for any grant, spend the first 30 minutes to 1 hour reading everything that they published about the grants. I have met people who they'll say, there's this grant ongoing there. Okay, I have pitch deck. Want to build farm with 2 cows. They just apply that same format of they want to build a ranch, for instance, with 2 or 5 or 10 cows. They are applying it for everywhere, trying to look for. But if you take your time to read your grant application, you find out that a lot of grants around SDGs don't like funding projects that support cattle because cows produce a lot of methane. Cows produce a lot of methane during their feeding. So if you are getting grants from somebody who cares a lot about the environment, that the environment is his biggest his biggest concern. You are now trying to build a cattle ranch where you buy cows and feed the cows for the cows to grow, cows that will produce methane that will harm the environment. You've lost that already, and it's probably something you wouldn't have missed if you didn't take your time to read. Do you get? So, but if for instance you see somebody like that, maybe that's why when you're especially when you're still at the bottom trying to get to the top, I'm sure you have multiple ideas in your head. So you have to look for the one that works. So maybe for that one, feeding cows to grow may not be your solution. Your solution is maybe some kind of sustainable feed that will try to decompose the methane inside the cow's stomach so that the cow will not belch and release the methane into the atmosphere. You now try to show statistics of how much of how much methane you have saved by reducing the belching of the cows. My point is, take your time to read. If possible, look for past winners and see, okay, this is what these guys have done. Grants are the easiest. Of course, the problem with grants is when you now start getting like me, where you have won a few grants, nobody wants to give you a grant anymore because they will say, what did you do with the ones you've won before? So, and that is also why the younger companies can now win. There are grants I will apply for that I cannot win anymore. They will be like, you've been around for so long. Why? But somebody like you, who's just an idea, will get. So I kind of feel, especially at that your early stage, when everybody still sees you as the new guy, apply for as much grants as you can. If you have a co-founder, tell your co-founder to run the business, be the one leading grant application, because all these things wouldn't matter if you cannot fund your project. So that's one thing I would say about grants. Then the second way to fund your project is customer revenue. Maybe let's put it this way, maybe you are trying to build farm, but everybody knows you as a farming expert. Before you build your own, people are paying you to build for them. You make revenues from your customers. Even till today, the factory that I built where we fabricate greenhouses, I funded it from the money people paid me to do solar for them, because everybody still knows. Even till today, I just never talk about it anymore. But being in an industry for 10 years, everybody still wants you to do solar for them because they know you will deliver. So you can find one skill and be very, very good at that. People will be paying you, and you're now taking the money from that skill to do the other. So there's nothing like customer revenue. Then maybe when you finally get money to do one and you run it successfully, you're now using your revenue to expand. So that is the second way to look at funding some of your projects. The third way to look at funding some of your projects is to bring friends together and you guys share the money. You guys share the costs. I've seen customers do, like, I guess there's a customer who I know is building 10 greenhouses in one central location. It was later that I found out that there were over 15 of them that contributed money to do that thing. But it's one beautiful project that they are doing. Then I also noticed that there's a lot of development funding going to states. Like state governments have a lot of ongoing projects at every point in time. It's just that, of course, as a startup, you may struggle to meet the qualification, but if you are more advanced, you may have met it. Like, one of the organizations I find very interesting is the World Bank. Why I love the organization is that the World Bank can have multiple projects ongoing in a country at the same time. So if you know what you're doing and you've designed your business very well, you can basically play into them. You can basically try to see whether there's any of them that you can participate in. For instance, now for somebody like, I'm working towards it internally as well, and anybody who feels is qualified can. For instance, in the energy sector, there's the World Bank there's the World Bank DES project going on that everybody in the energy sector is talking about now. That's $750 million to boost energy access in Nigeria. The same World Bank in the agri sector have their ongoing LPRESS project. I think that one is $500 million to support the livestock industry in Nigeria. The same World Bank have their RAMP project to support transportation and logistics for agriculture. I think that one is $600 million. And this is just the ones I have read about in energy and agriculture. If you go to environment, you will still see. So that's one. If you go to these are basically development projects, which maybe you as an individual you cannot get. But if you are if you are basically working with your local state governments, or in the scenarios where it's managed from the federal, you can look into. Go to the African Development Bank, for instance. They are doing special agro processing zones that are over another $500 million just to develop agriculture projects. Who will develop all these projects? If the local companies and startups are still the people that are going to deploy and develop those projects, if the local companies don't step up, the foreigners will come in. The local companies that don't have capacity should go and look for foreign partners that have capacity and form partnerships, form joint ventures to do projects in Africa. That is also the power of Yali, where you meet people from all over the world. Okay, you see this project, they say that for you to do this project, you should have $250,000 in your bank account. You know you don't have the money, but you have the technical skills and the team. Maybe through Yali, you've met somebody that has the money. You can meet the person and tell the person, see these projects in my country, let's do a JV. So these are just some of the ideas. Some of you may also have better ideas, but the point is just be innovative and figure out how to achieve your dreams, and don't allow anybody tell you that you can't achieve them. But that's all I have to say. And thank you very much for listening to my humble opinion. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, sir. Very much, sir. Guys, I want to see your hands. I want to see your reactions. Whoa. This is. But you see, there was something he said, right? He just said something that captured my mind. And that particular, I'm very sure that everybody here will agree with me that we are heart to heart with this, with what I want to say right now. He said that one of the ways also is to get grant winners, people that have won grants before, and then from there learn from them, and they can give you tips. And ladies and gentlemen, I don't think there is anybody best that can do that than our very own speaker today, who has spoken so wonderfully well, who has made some people already saying that their interest in the agricultural sector has just been awakened. So, sir, if you don't mind, with regards to grant writing and all this, I want to plea on behalf of the people right here, right now, that want to learn, that once when they are making presentation, like what I've seen, all those organization, their logos at the end of your slide. I want someday, same here, when I'm talking about the agricultural sector, I'm trying to encourage other entrepreneurs out there. I can show them I've also won grants that will help my business. So I don't know if you would do us the favor after.
I think we lost him.
Say amen, amen, amen. Everything you put your hand go on, your name go open doors. You self go be a boss. Amen, amen. Everything you put your hand go on, your name go open doors. You self go be a boss. Amen, amen. Sister, we one man.
Hey, good evening once again, sir. Good evening, everyone that's still here till this very moment. We deeply appreciate, we sincerely appreciate. So, sir, he was trying to ask that you please think about having a class with us specifically on grant writing. Specifically, I am very interested in that class because I am actually a grant writer, but then I still need to learn more and more. So that is what he asked. If you can spare some time and come and have a class with us on grant writing, so we would deeply appreciate if you agree to do this for us. In fact, we are acting as Yali because at this point it's just me, other executives, and all members of Yali here present on this call, hearing this request. I believe I'm speaking the mind of everyone. Thank you, sir.
Thank you for that fantastic speech. Like I told your coordinator, because interestingly, your coordinator has made this request before. I don't believe I'm qualified to hold a grant writing masterclass. I'm just an entrepreneur trying to figure things out. So it will be a disservice for me to come and position myself as an expert for a sector I'm just figuring out. What I told her I can do is, or rather what I can do is, you can organize like a grant writing workshop or something. Find a business consultant that will lead the workshop and I can come in and speak. But my requirement is that nobody should position me as grant writing expert before the people that are giving me money say that he's now teaching people how to write grants because you give him money. Do you get? So they are like people that it is their job to do. They are like people that it is their job to do grant writing workshops. Like there are people that it's their hustle. They used to pay them to do that kind of thing. Me, self, I used to look for those kind of people. They are the ones who can tell you, okay. They are the ones who can tell you, okay, this is what to do, this is what to do. Everything I say now, I did not really learn it anywhere. It's my own experience. So, and my own experience may not be the reality of a lot of you. But I will continue discussing with her. Let me not promise anything here, but I will continue discussing with her. She knows where to find me. Thank you.
All right, very well. Thank you
Thank
very
you very
much. So
much, sir.
just like someone said, okay, so that's fine. That's fine. We will not call you the grant expert, and we will not call you a grant expert. So we can just put another name to that. So, but again, thank you very much. Thank you very much. We are grateful. So quickly, I would love to call on our coordinator to come and just say a vote of thanks to our facilitator for today for such an excellent time. We are really grateful. Want to say very thank you to you, sir. And come on, everybody, please, your hands, your hands, your hands, your hands, your hands. And please, can you guys all do me a favor? Can you quickly put on your cameras? Put on your camera so that we can take a snapshot. Yeah, please do us that favor. Wherever you are, just put on your camera so that we can take a snapshot, a screenshot. You know, this session has been excellent. And as a farmer, I'm very grateful for this session.
I know some of the
I am
ladies
really,
may want
really,
to pick up their wigs. In case you don't have your wigs, it's okay. It's a family meeting. Uzo, thank you so much. We do appreciate you.
Thank you.
Yes, let me change the view so that everyone shows. Yeah. Say cheese. Utibe, your head is down. Oh. Yes. Can Utibe hear me? Sit up straight so that we see your face. All right, we're done. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. So I'm gonna